So we're about to check it with nitrogen. We've already checked it. I already know that it's good, but I'm only showing a demonstration. So I've removed the Schrader core off of this one, and I removed the Schrader core off of this King's valve. I've connected my hose and closed off all the valves so that I could fill it with nitrogen and make sure that it's working good. As I said, this is very important. Taking this out is going to be very important from both valves. It'll make your job go faster and it'll make your job go smoother. So now I'm going to open this. I'm not opening the manifold yet, so everything is closed off. And I'm turning this on. This gauge here tells me how much is in here inside of the tank. This one is telling me how much pressure is going to come out into this condensing unit. So mine maxes out at 250. These AC units and the coils are made to withstand over 400 psi. But if you need to adjust it to go higher, to go lower, you turn this valve. You tighten it to raise the pressure, then you lower it to lower the pressure. So I'm going to lower the pressure. I'm going to open it here just so that I know that I have nitrogen coming out here. Okay, so that relieves anything that's in there. So now I look at the pressure here because I actually lowered it. Like I said, I don't want it going past that 250 so I can see that it'll hold it. So I'm going to raise it, raise it, raise it. I like it to be at about 225, so I'm going to just go about right here. This line here, that one there is going to be 250. But so now I'm going to go ahead and open this up. Excuse me, open this up. So it fills this manifold with nitrogen. And I can go ahead and add it into the system. But I told you that is closed off. I closed it off for a reason. I don't want to introduce more air or humidity. So what I'm going to do is, before I do that, I purge this. Done. Now I can open this up and it's going to shoot nitrogen all in here into the coil upstairs, come right back into this system. I have both of these King valves closed off still so that they don't have, so it's not going into the compressor. The compressor already has refrigerant in it, so I don't need to clean that out because it's already cleaned out from the factory and ready to go. So now I'm gonna go ahead and open this and send the nitrogen in, and it's gonna fill up to whatever pressure I've already set this to. So you can see it filling up, filling up. There you go. See? Right below, just over 225. So it's been actually over 24 hours that I did this. This is only a test right now to show you, but let's assume right now it's been 24 hours. So what I'm going to do, close this off. As you can see, pressure has not dropped. That means that system should be a good tight sealed system. I could go ahead and vacuum it and get ready to release the Freon and measure the Freon, because it's going to be short, because this line set is maybe about 3 floors up, and it goes in, so it's about maybe 50 to 60 feet. So I got to make sure I calculate that right with a superheat, because this is a piston controlled system. So I close that off so that none of that leaks out. It's still in the system. It's still dry. It's still good. I'm just going to put this back here. This is my gauge I just used for doing this kind of things like purging and everything like that. This isn't the one I use to service. So it doesn't matter what color hoses you see on it, because at the end of the day, a hose is a hose and it does its job. Now I'm going to go ahead and set up the vacuum system. So I made this myself. I got some gator clips. I'm just going to use this to run this vacuum that I have right here by stealing power from the contactor Or if I had removed this cover, I could also access the wires on the inside. As you notice, it is on off. If some people don't feel safe with it like that, pull it out, set it right there, you're good. So we got to be careful. Black is hot. This is going to be my ground right here. That's so I could run that pump. That's just the way I made this one. I didn't use the ground wire, I used the neutral. But what you don't want to do is hook up one here and another one. You don't want to hook up here and here. You don't want to get 240 volts. It is off. It's right here, so I can touch it. It's going to be fine. But let's see now. So I've made a connection there to the contactor. Now I'm about to do it to the ground. You can really do it anywhere on there. I can literally do it right here and that'd be fine. But I'm just going to do it over here so it's not in my way when I'm doing the vacuuming. So now that I've got it hooked up, you can see here it's connected to the bottom leg. It's going to get hot once I plug it in over there, and then I got it to the ground. Like I said, I made this extension cord. You can do it yourself. Just be careful with it, because if you do slip, it can ground out and cause other issues later on. Hook it up to my vacuum. It'll turn on as soon as I plug that in. It's only going to be at 120 volts because it's only using one of the legs, not both of the legs. So it'll be 120. Now we're going to go ahead and I'm going to release the nitrogen from the system so I can hook up my vacuum to the king valves. So I've drained it out. It still has slightly a little bit. I don't want to take it fully out to zero. Try to get it as low as you can without zeroing it out. That way you have at least some nitrogen in there and not let any more moisture in there, any non-condensables. See, they're both now blanked off. There's nothing going to come in. And let's hook up our micron gauge to there. And I'm going to hook up a hose there and a hose here to the vacuum. And we will start doing the system pump down and evacuation, so that we can get it going. So vacuuming takes a very long time to do. You know, people will say, oh, just give it 10 minutes, give it an hour. No, that is not proper. If you do that, you're going to probably do something wrong to the machine. It's not going to last as long. You're going to have an angry resident, in my case, or an angry customer, because the system didn't last like it should have, because there could have been moistures, there could be non-condensables. So let's do this the correct way. I like using these hoses. I bought these online. They are really big hoses. One side has a 3/8 entry, the other is a 1/4 inch. 1/4 inch will fit there, but the vacuum has one. You see that blue one? That's my 3/8. That's where both of these lines will be connecting. Yes, both lines. You want one on each side, and I'll show you how to do that right now. I've also bought one of these. So what it does is I'll connect it to one 3/8 line, the blue one there, so that it'll Y out to do two 3/8 lines going into that system. All that has no cores. You'll see when I take these hoses apart, these hoses do not have anything like a core depressor, so that it's non-restricted and it'll just go ahead and flow freely. Look at that. Nothing. No depressors. If you look at another hose, see that? That depressor there is a restriction. It'll make your evacuations take a lot longer. If you want to save time, invest in good equipment. What good is a mechanic without tools? You want good tools. You want to be a good mechanic. In this case, I want to be a good tech. I want to make sure these residents are happy. I want to make sure my work is good. I don't want to have to come back to this every week because it's leaking refrigerant, or because it's giving me issues because the compressor blew out because I didn't do my job right. So let's do this the right way. So what we want is a good airtight seal when we hook up our Y. So to do that, I recommend, it's not necessary, but again, I like doing my job the right way, and I think everyone should too. This costs like maybe 10 bucks. You could buy it on Amazon. You could go to True Tech. You add a little bit of this just right here. That's it. And it'll make an airtight seal. So literally a little dab will do you. It helps if I open it right. So it's the Nylog blue. It helps. It works for all refrigerants. It won't contaminate your system. There is red for R22, but this one works for all refrigerants, so might as well just get this. Now we're gonna just take this off. The protector. Yeah, you gotta make sure you take care of your stuff. You don't want this contaminating either. You want it to be good and tight. Hand tight. You don't want it to use a tool. The other thing is checking this pump. You got to make sure this pump, I've already changed the oil. I already know it drops below 50 microns, but we're going to check it anyways to make sure that this pump works and will do what we want it to. So we're going to take this off here. So I'm not going to really add Nylog here, because really what I just want to make sure is that this micron gauge will drop down to at least 50. That's what we want, so we know we can pull good deep vacuum into the system here. So we're just gonna run it, see what it does. Again, do not use tools to tighten this. Use your hands. If you use a tool, you're gonna damage out that gasket that's in here. So let's turn it on. So it's 0, open line. We're gonna go ahead and run it, see that it does what it's supposed to do. So that is for off, this is for on. Alright, we got it going. And let's open this up and make sure, actually let me make sure all this is tightened and closed off, so we could just pull off this one here. And let's go ahead and pull a vacuum and see if it drops to 50. Look at that, dropping. I have already checked the connection, make sure it was good and tight, but it isn't going down. It's not evacuating like it should. I've checked the micrometer to make sure that it's clean here, and it is. So either there's a leak in the system, so like I did check this here, it is good and tight, it's not dropping. The other one I could do is the gas ballast to make sure that it's good and tight. Let's see, actually that was loose, maybe it is good. Let's find out. There we go, that's what it was. Well, it's important, and I failed, but at the end of the day, this is what we have to do. We have to be sure that the equipment we have works efficiently to do what we want it to do. In this case, I had the gas ballast still a little bit cracked, and although I was checking that, checking everything else, if there was still air coming into it, atmospheric pressure, then it's never going to drop below. But now, good, tight, again, hand tightened, not with a tool. We saw it drop to below 50. That means this system will be able to come down to below 500. We want it to ideally get to 250, being that it's a 410A system, and let it do its job. So now that we know it works, let's get on that part of evacuating the system. So I've removed the micron gauge. If you can see, I added some Nylog to it. That way I could put this cap on and not worry about it leaking and sucking in air through there when I do the vacuum. So I will do the same when I hook up this micron gauge to here. I'm gonna do the same thing. Also, I did remove the valve core from here to remove any restrictions. So let's just add a little bit of nylon. And let's put our gauge at a good angle so we could see what's going on when we're vacuuming it. So there we go. I got the vacuum hooked up. I can see what it's going to read. And now let's hook up our vacuum hoses here and here. So now I've set up all the hoses. Again, it's a good investment to save you time and money and be able to do more in a day, because in my case, I work in apartments. If I work in apartments, I have multiple calls in a day. It's the summer, and I have to be able to not only do this install, but also handle everyone else's ACs. So, although we do have, other techs on site doing ACs, we need all hands on deck. It's summer, and it's an older property. So, yeah, we got to do this. So now, let's go ahead and get this going. And once we get to 250, we want to get as close as we can to 250. You want it to be that way for 410A, being that it's a higher pressure. And once it does get to 250, give it about 10-15 minutes. Blank everything off once you do that, and give it 10 or 15 minutes and see if it stays within 500 microns. If it stays within that 500 microns in the 10 or 15 minutes, that system is a good tight system. You don't really have to worry about there being non-condensables, and you could run it and know that it's going to run good for a very long time. So now I've connected it. I've got everything blanked off. I still got it shut off here. Just want to get it a little bit warmed up. What you could do is release a little bit of the gas so that the machine quiets down and you don't go right away into vacuum and damage it. So now it's doing that. Close it off. Once it smooths out, go ahead and open this up. So now we're in vacuum. The hoses are in vacuum, but the system yet isn't. Keep in mind, every place I connected a hose. Here. Any place that I could have a possibility of any air leaks or contamination, I use this. It'll seal it off. I don't have to worry about it, leaking. Little seeds. Remember, this is microscopic. This is microns. So this is something you won't be able to see or hear. That'll help you seal it. Again, I sealed it all here. Everything is sealed off. Everything's blanked off. I'm going to go ahead and open this up so that the air, once it starts sucking here, it starts going into here and we can read it. So we're going to go ahead and open. You hear that pump? You hear the pump? It's going good. So we're going to go ahead and open this one. And now we are in vacuum. As you can see, this Y came out it helps. It's a 3/8 hose, 3/8 connection to a 3/8 adapter, Y adapter. And at that end, it's a 1/4 inch, so it'll fit the AC units. You can get these on Amazon, you can get them on True Tech. It helps, it really does. You want to be a good tech, invest in some good stuff. As you can see, it's running already. Because of how much suction and vacuum it's given, those hoses help a lot. I removed the cores. Look at that. We're already at 1,000 microns in a matter of seconds. So I'm gonna let it go. Once it drops to below 250, I'll be back and show you what's left to do. Look at that drop. And this is almost like maybe 50-60 feet of line set. Easy. It's going up 3 floors, and look at that vacuum. Look how deep it's going that fast. Give you an idea of how long that line set is. It goes all the way here, all the way there. That's up. And that is the unit I installed. That's an extra vacuum in case, because I wasn't sure if this one was going to work right. Always have a backup if you can. So I'm going, that's the second floor, third floor. So it's going all the way up. That's about 50 feet at least. And then it goes in. So think about that. It's 50 feet just to there, maybe two right there. Plus what it goes inside, that's probably another 15 feet. So we're looking at least 60 feet of line set. And that vacuum with that setup will help you out. You don't have to do it that way. You can do it with the manifold, but just keep in mind that just makes the job a little longer, and you could still do it. But yeah, invest in good stuff. Do your job right. Don't have to worry about headaches. Look at this. Already at 460, so I'm already below 500. I need it to be at 250, and we're almost there, guys. Look at that, guys. I'd say I've been here maybe, what, 10 minutes at the most? If that. I'm already at 250. It's going to drop more. I'm going to let it do more. The more, the better. Obviously, you don't want to go in too low. Or you don't want to risk, you know, causing issues within the lines and the coil. It's not pulling from the compressor, so I don't need to worry about it pulling oil out of that compressor, because that compressor, like I said, these valves, both of them are still shut off. So the Freon is trapped in the compressor. It is a new machine, so it's all within their own specs. It's, you know, pre-filled, factory charged. But why not? Let's just let it go a little more. This number here is just how much suction it still can go. So it's still at -8, so it can keep going. It'll still drop. As long as that does not zero out, it'll keep on sucking. And this is a good pump, good equipment, good work. 226, look at that. When you go into a deep vacuum, what happens, sorry, I have to wear a mask now. One of my techs is with me, so you know, we got to practice social distancing and we got to be safe. But what it does is it'll go into a deep vacuum and evaporate whatever moisture and condensables or anything that be contaminants, excuse me, in there, and it'll convert it into a gas. It'll evaporate, turn it into a gas, which that exhaust port on that pump, in this case, that exhaust port is that handle. What it does is it expels that gas out into the air and leaves this system dry in vacuum and working as it should. That's what you want. So it dropped to 220. I'm gonna go ahead and call it there. I wanted it to get to 250. It got to 250. It went below 250. It's a 410A system with a very long line set, and it's still dropping. But I'm gonna go ahead and blink this valve off through here and this valve off and let it sit for 10 minutes and see if it goes up, or maybe 15 minutes, and see if it goes up to 500 or over. If it goes over 500, guess what? I'm gonna vacuum it again into a deeper vacuum, because obviously there's still contaminants in the system. It's been like this for about 30 minutes. I've let it sit with this pump off, and you can see it's blinked off. The hose is still connected just in case I had to go and vacuum it again, but that pressure is not going to go anywhere. It's been over 30 minutes. I'd call this a good one. It's a good vacuum. It did take me a little long. It did take about an hour again. It's all the way up there. So I'm gonna go ahead and blank this off right here, because what you want to do is when you release this refrigerant, you don't want it to contaminate your micrometer, your micron gauge, because then it'll cause you problems later on when you do want to vacuum it. You gotta have to clean that out, and I don't know how I feel about running line flush with that. I've heard alcohol is a good way of cleaning it off, but why do that when you could just avoid it from happening? Which is why I added this piece here, just to blank it off when I let go of that Freon, and still have it in a vacuum and not have to worry about contaminating the system or having to vacuum it all over again.